Hi, and welcome back. Welcome back to the bonus section. We're going to work backwards from deployments to code. So, for individuals that don't utilize the best practices of infrastructure as code, we'll learn how to actually do reversing of that. Let's get started. Our learning objectives today include determining when to work backwards versus refactor. We also want to convert deployment workloads from deployments inside manual constructs and manual deployment mechanisms into infrastructure as code, even though you've never seen it before. Well, we also want to utilize AWS Cloud Formation Designer for mockups. So, the biggest question in the most DevOps professional environments are when do we refactor or when do we revise? Well, that's a great question. Let's move ahead. So, some key points to consider when to refactor or when to revise or tinker. When you consider everything is in AWS as an API call, such as CDK, SDK, or CLI, then you can really think about, is it all in AWS? Is it multi-cloud? Can I automate everything utilizing the tools and the skill sets I've learned in this course? How much of the solution is automated in code? And what is the return on investment and the rate of return on investment? Well, let's figure out how that works in determining whether we want to make continuations of changes on existing bad deployments or refactor everything, including the best practice patterns. So remember that our deployment best practice patterns includes everything that's repeatable, right? Automated. Automation is key to everything in DevOps. Here we have a series of patterns that can be redeployed via CDK using still version control through a CI/CD pipeline to one or more multiple accounts, uh, potentially controlled by organizations or control tower with AWS. So these could actually be grouped or deployed via control tower as well. So CT or organizations. Now, the key points include infrastructure as code, which includes what in your head. You should be thinking about CDK, Terraform, and many others. The separation of infrastructure code stacks depending on the team, such as the network team having VPC to security groups. The server side team may be utilizing EC2 infrastructure items. We also want to use secure solutions with the CIA security triad, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Some examples of each include encryption. Integrity includes patching for vulnerabilities, and availability includes maybe a high availability using multi-AZ. We also want to utilize decoupled solutions in architecture, such as SQS queues. Apache MQ comes to mind. Also, think about this: serverless or microservice strategies, including containers using ECS over Fargate runtime. You also want to have highly resilient solution architecture. So there goes that multi-AZ item here, but also automatic scaling to fit your needs when demands increase and then decrease. There's that elasticity in EC2. We also want to have automated CI/CD pipelines, which we saw with CDK and code deploy, as well as code pipeline. So, what is your threshold to determine if you want to refactor or not? Well, your return on investment is based on percentage. Your total revenue minus your total cost over total cost times 100. When you scale, make sure you scale the total cost and benefit timeline together. So, for instance, if you're calculating cost of a level of effort for 5 heads of developers and they're all making 100K each over a month, you should calculate that cost and then determine the total revenue or the total net gain benefit, such as efficiency or monetary value whenever possible, what you would stand to gain from that within the same time period, such as 4 sprints, for let's say they're a week at a time. You, as a developer, are not the one to decide for the stakeholder, but you can inform the stakeholder. Once you put those numbers into the return on investment, you can help them make better decisions on whether or not to actually go through with the commitment or not, or continue to revise as is until they can reach a better time to commit solution, or scrap the solution altogether and recommit to a completely different architecture. Now, in tandem with understanding our revision versus refactoring, what happens when you can't just plain refactor and start from a greenfield environment? Well, sometimes you'll need reverse engineering tools. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Oh, we're going to be cracking something, hacking something. You don't learn that here. That's summarized in security, which you might be doing binary reverse engineering of malware. Here, we're going to utilize simple tools developed by other community developers to take what's already deployed and turn them back into the API equivalents wrapped into CDK, CloudFormation, SDK Boto 3, and many others. Remember that everything in AWS is an API wrapped function, no matter what your interface you use. Our first up, and you might not think about it, is CloudFormation Designer. Now, the designer itself, as you saw in the Foundations and AWS Academy courseware, it's not very popular, and the reason why is because it's very clunky to use at least the time of this recording and the time of this writing. However, you can take CloudFormation templates and upload it into Cloud Designer and quickly get a visual of what is connected and interconnected in a nice single pane of glass, as opposed to trying to read this serially in a YAML or JSON file. Now, if you're trying to build this using CloudFormation Designer, just note that if you look right here, it's not as simple as connecting the dots and saying everything. You still need to know every single parameter and understanding of each object and how you connect the dots using the CloudFormation Designer. It doesn't think about this for you. That's why you have CDK for that level of extraction. We're also going to showcase the AWS Recorder extension, which is made by Ian McKay. This is a community-driven extension. It's been not necessarily deprecated, but it hasn't been updated in a while. But the cool factor is that it has all of these conversions to translate what you do in the console into actual code. Very useful stuff. You can actually create SDK and understand the differences of how you make something in the console and what it looks like in the SDK, which is a really common use case. Understanding this will help you become a better developer for AWS, especially if you're just starting out. It works by intercepting API calls directly into your extensions, such as Chrome or Firefox. You'll see this in a lab later on. We also have, by the same developer, Ian, Former 2. Former 2 is actually a two-part service, a browser extension helper and a server-side code service. The server-side code service will act as your web browser, which you'll see here, and you'll enumerate your AWS account using your long-term access keys in addition. So if you're doing this for an actual customer or a real stakeholder, never use the formal2.com director website. Right? That's not hosted by you. It's not controlled by you, and could be a security violation. Remember to self-host this in your own environment, and then grab it based on the output. Here you can create CloudFormation or including CDK and Terraform stacks based on this. And that's really neat because then you can actually create something that's already deployed, make a few modifications, and then now you have something that is able to be refactored into the best practices, even if you only have to make a small set of modifications. You can push these through CI/CD pipelines and ultimately turn them into CDK applications themselves. Now for a break and a demo, and we'll see some of the power behind it. You'll see some of this in your lab as well. Just know that this is easier to set up and it's really fun to take a look at. Play and experiment for yourself and try to challenge yourself on how you would fix broken code and utilize different things in the Boto 3 SDK. We'll see you when you get back. All right, welcome back from your break. I hope you had a great break. Make sure you log into your console and ensure that you have your extension loaded. It has access to the site, and I'm going to start recording. I can also go to the dashboard. I can set my settings in here if I need to and intercept all the responses, and it will create the CloudFormation and CDK requirement necessary. So I'm going to intercept responses, and I will go ahead and select here, like Boto 3 for Python or CDK, which is TypeScript and not Python. So keep that in mind. Or I can go CloudForm or Terraform. Let's do Boto 3. So if I'm going to create a new IAM user, notice that it's intercepting the calls, and it's a little slower, but I haven't done anything yet, even though I've visited the page. I'll create a new user, and I'll create test, generate access keys, manage console access. Sure, we'll auto-generate a password, and we'll set my permissions to demo. Tag my items. I don't want to tag them. Create the user, and I'll grab the access key if I need to, which I shouldn't. And what we have here is unfortunately nothing happening because why? Well, because I didn't start the recorder. So that's a common issue with students. Let's go ahead and delete this one last time. I'll delete test. Remember, all this is the same stuff. So I'll start my recorder. And I'll create a new user again. Notice that the console recorder is starting debugging this browser. Test, program access, management console access, auto generate password, require password reset, add the user to the demo break glass administrator group, and for whatever reason, I'll just tag it demo, and then bonus section. Review, create the user. Now let's look at what we have here. We'll close this. And now, let's take a look at we'll stop our recording. And now look at all this. This is everything I did in my browser just now. And note that this is not perfect. I don't need to always have a response saying, list scripts for users. But I do want to create the access key. And this is the great part about all this. It provides this for every single supported language equivalent right here. Look, I created a new user, added to the group name demo, and gave an access key with that. I mean, that's pretty cool. Even gives me the CLI equivalent if I were to do this in the CLI. Now, you can also experiment with this and combine it and see if this makes changes to your account forward and back. I also wanted to give you that notation for you. You also can create IAM user policies right here if you wish. But then again, I don't want to do that. So let's record everything again. You can also keep it inside the same recording session, or you can start one over again. I'll start recording one last time. We'll intercept the calls, and I'll go ahead and delete this. Delete the test. Now it's deleted. We'll stop our recording. And just like that, add users group, and then we should have, what I find interesting here is that it didn't actually do a remove or a test. So it looks like it didn't reset everything that I was looking for. So it could be the best thing to do is always clear the recorded data and then try everything else again. Make sure you want to enable intercept responses and clear the data between each recording session as a best practice. Alrighty, go on and get to it. Enjoy your lab, and we'll see you for the next module.